You know, at 125, there's only 2 qualifiers, but we're talking quite a bit in that last segment about perhaps getting a bid on selection show day. So that's what we're going to be looking for, as we will start on mat 1 with Wagner from North Carolina and Camacho from Pitt. Trombley from NC State and Ventresca have already taken the 2 AQs. So now's a chance to really put on a big performance to try to get selected. I mean, this is where you really got to make an impression, right, on the selection committee.
Absolutely. And I think another thing about this, too, is regardless of whether you qualify for the NCAA tournament, you want to finish this tournament on a win. Every time you step out on the mat, every time you compete, you want to get your hand raised. And so, yes, it means something, but at the same time, your job's the same every single time you step out there. And, you know, I think these guys should go out there and lay it on the line as best they can. Now, just like we talked about earlier, there's things that fans don't think about where, you know, there's a lot of highs and there's a lot of lows. Some people, you know, it could be a devastating day. To others, it could be an incredibly exciting day. And to some, they're just ready for the day to be over. And there's that group as well. And, you know, it's hard to see sometimes when you go in there competing, but, I mean, the season is long, it's grueling, it's a grind. Imagine doing it for 5 years, you know? So you don't know what these guys are thinking, and there's a variation in just a multitude of different thoughts that everybody can be feeling and thinking as they're getting ready to come out here to compete, especially if you're on the backside of the bracket. When you've lost already and you're discouraged and you're like, man, I don't know, man. And you have to muster up the courage. You have to dig deep. You have to figure out how to pick yourself up when you don't feel like it, strap your singlet up, and go out there and compete again. It's a grind. This sport is a grind, man.
They call him Mock. He is the NCAA champion at 197 in 2018. Former NC State superstar Mike Machiavello, who we learned right before that break was also a soccer player. It blows my mind, as we are now in the consolation finals at 125. Again, worth reminding all of you that only 2 AQs. So Camacho from Pitt and Wagner from North Carolina trying to put on a show here for a chance to get selected, or for all the reasons that Mock just broke down. No score here.
Camacho with a couple of major decisions in tow today.
Camacho has shown some really good stuff today so far. And he's actively been really aggressive offensively every single match we've watched him wrestle. And he's continuing to do that even now.
Yeah, both these wrestlers have decent resumes, actually. I mean, Wagner came in at 19-6. So Camacho started against McCormick and then lost to Trombley, whereas Wagner beat Grimminger and fell to Ventresca. Wagner then beat McCormick, and Camacho beat Grimminger. Wagner, we can take a look at what he did.
He's doing a great job here. I mean, the score is 0-0 right now, but we're at the start of the second period, and these guys have both shown a lot of promise. And they both wrestled hard throughout the day. I mean, beautiful mat return there. A roll-through attempt, almost with a reversal, but Wagner doing a good job staying with his hips, floating and staying on top.
So, Mock, I can tell you that Wagner beat Camacho back on February 3rd, 10-8. And both these wrestlers have impressive records. I mean, you're talking about a guy in Wagner that has 20 wins, and Camacho with a decent record as well. So I think these two are wrestling for something, legitimately.
These guys are competitive, and they've both shown a lot of really good stuff today. This is an interesting position. Wow. surprised we didn't see a score there outside of the escape.
So Camacho came in at 15-8, and Wagner's got 20 wins. So I would not be surprised if the winner of this puts himself in a decent position.
Yeah, these guys are competitive, and 125 is increasingly gotten competitive. I mean, it's been competitive in the ACC. You had a guy like Jack Mueller who made it to the NCAA finals at 125 pounds for UVA, who's now helping out with the staff there. And then you had a guy like Joey Dance, who was a four-time All-American for Virginia Tech. And then you had a guy like Jacob Camacho, who majored Jack Mueller the year after he made it to the NCAA finals, who is not in the lineup this season. And now you have a guy like Jared Trombley, who came down from 133, who's wrestling lights out this year, who's the 1 seed. And so I think the weight class of 125 pounds has shown a lot of growth and shown some really good stuff here for the ACC.
A good breakdown, especially coming off, you know, we went to that last break, wrapping up heavyweight, where we're seeing guys that have been at 197 wrestle up, and then we're talking about guys cutting down to 125 to make it tougher. That goes back to the whole mental aspect as well. It's not easy to make that cut.
Right, no, definitely not. That makes me think about my other former roommate, Sean Foss, who, when he graduated, went to be an assistant coach at Cal Poly, who no longer is coaching now, is working for Google. He was an electrical engineering major here at NC State, but he's my roommate. He would weigh 155 pounds in the offseason. And he competed at 125 pounds. The heaviest he weighed when he stepped on the scale in the offseason was 160. That wasn't very long, but you mentioned the weight cut, and man, it is no joke.
30 pounds. I could use a little bit of that, my man.
I can hit him up. Maybe he can give you some tips. I know he's actually thought about writing a book about nutrition. He was one of the most disciplined guys I've ever been around in terms of diet, mainly because he had no choice.
Got a medical break here for Wagner. I'm thinking it might have been Wagner's. Was it Wagner whose shoulder?
It was.
Yeah.
It was Wagner whose shoulder who said, "Don't stop the match. Don't stop the match." That's right.
Then it was Camacho who, right off the bat, had all that blood. He still got his head wrapped.
1 point by North Carolina.
I mean, and think about this as well. When we talked about the mental and the psychological aspect of the sport that guys have to deal with as competitors. These guys are, one's got an open cut on his forehead. The other one messed up his shoulder, and we're not sure. Maybe it was just a one-off, and maybe it's not bothering him anymore, but odds are it probably is. The pain just doesn't magically go away later on in the day. These are things that you have to constantly battle through. And there's guys at every weight in this bracket, and guys at every weight in this tournament who are battling through things like that. Good job there by Camacho. But again, I'm just bringing that up to highlight the toughness that wrestling can develop within an individual. The mental toughness that it forces you to develop.
Camacho 3-1 lead. Great to have Mock break it down. So Camacho now has got Wagner a little bit of trouble here.
Looked for a switch there, but Camacho released and just kind of re-engaged to sit him to his hip. Drop down to a leg. Transition to the next position. Doing a good job getting to his hip. 30 seconds left.
So Camacho, who got the win over McCormick to give him win number 16, then fell to Trombley 10-5, comes back and beats Grimminger to get to win number 17. So this is, if he can hang on, it'll be 18 wins, whereas Wagner's already got 20 wins. Wagner beat Grimminger.
Really nice duck attempt. Comes back up. Runs corner to get in on a leg. That was beautiful chain wrestling by Wagner. Wow, that was gorgeous. I love seeing that type of wrestling where it's not just one attempt and the exchange stops because someone defends. It's one attempt, your opponent reacts, they defend, you chain wrestle to the next attempt, you end up on a leg, you're still wrestling. I mean, that's when wrestling is the most exciting. But look at Camacho, look at how excited he is.
Yeah, I think he believes he might get a nod. It's hard to know. We know Trombley and Ventresca, who will start off tonight's coverage on ACC Network at 125, and we'll wait and see whether Camacho or Wagner get the nod. Camacho fired up.